If you get everything to a narcissist, doesn't mean that they're not going to leave you. Doesn't mean they're not going to cheat. Doesn't mean that it's not going to still be the same hell that you've been in the entire time. You just might lengthen or shorten the timeline based on what you actually give them or how you actually respond. But it doesn't mean you're going to change them. Does a narcissist care that he's actually hurting you? So many times this question gets posed of like, wait a second, does he actually understand? Does he actually know this? Have you ever wondered that? Have you ever wondered if your narcissistic, your toxic partner actually cares that they're hurting you? Is it even a thought? Like maybe you're struggling to understand like the motives behind like what they're actually doing, their hurtful behavior. Maybe you're feeling confused or isolated in the relationship with a narcissist and you're kind of wondering like, does this person actually care? Do they actually understand the pain that they're causing? Well, we want to talk about this today, but first off, if you don't know who I am, my name is Ben Taylor and I'm a narcissist. I'm a person that's on this channel to help provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. And we do that by partnering with people on a day-to-day basis to help them break free of the trauma bond and help them rewire the story that they believe, the fiction, the fantasy. And I do that from a perspective of a lot of logic and a lot of explaining from the narcissistic mind what's actually happening, how it's getting manipulated and twisted, and how you're getting groomed a lot of times to believe a false reality. And a lot of times people are struggling with this question, like, does the narcissist actually care? Especially when they're hurting me. So in this video, we're going to discuss whether or not narcissist cares about you, whether they care if they're hurting you or not. We're going to explore some of the characteristics of narcissists, like how their behavior actually can impact their relationship with their partner, with the other person, and also provide some tips and tricks on how to navigate that relationship and take care of you. Okay? Sounds good? All right, so diving in. Narcissists are focused really on their own needs and their own desires. So we talk a lot about the grandiose, the self-importance, the entitlement, all this kind of stuff. It focuses back on themselves. Now, whether we focus on, what exact strain that is of like really like high pride or just a shame avoidance, like it doesn't really matter at this point. Like I'm just trying to explain, like they're only focused on them. So you need to understand that you don't matter in regards to, you only matter in what you bring to the relationship, not for your intrinsic value. Narcissist isn't looking at you being like, oh my gosh, you're worth so much, because they only care about themselves. Okay, so starting off just, hey, they don't care about you, they only care about themselves. All right, but narcissists are primarily focused on their own needs. Like what I want, like what this is going to do for me, how this is going to make me feel, how it's going to make me look. And oftentimes they put their own interests above the interests of their partner. So like what they want matters more than what you want. And so you see this all the time in regular life, in different relationships, and abusive relationships and affairs. It only matters of what the narcissist wants, not what you want. I did this for many years. I only focused on what I wanted in the moment. Like I wanted someone that I felt I could connect to. I couldn't connect to my wife because I wasn't being honest with her, so I connected with an affair partner. I connected with someone else. And then I'd continue to go to someone else, and then someone else, and someone else, trying to fix that hole in that void of like, oh, I can't find somebody. When it was my fault because I wasn't actually showing up as a man in the relationship. Instead, I was just running from person to person as a coward. And with this concept here, I was only looking for things that were going to help me. Only looking for things that were going to pump me up. They're going to make me feel better about myself. They're going to make someone else like honor and worship me. Like that's it. Like I just cared about my own needs. Okay? And a lot of times we see that narcissists become super insensitive about everybody else in their life, especially the person they're closest to. They ignore their emotional needs. They ignore their feelings, all this stuff. And it leads to this hurtful behavior that's aimed at only fulfilling my own desires. Like I'm so infatuated with my image, with the person that I am projecting to be, not the person I actually am. So I'm going to do anything in my power to make it look like I'm this wonderful person. But what I'm actually doing is I'm hurting everybody else around me because of the lies, the manipulation, the cheating, all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if it causes the pain to the other person. This is the part that people struggle with to be able to understand is a narcissist doesn't care about you as far as if they're hurting you. They just care that they're not getting hurt themselves. Like it's more of a priority to prioritize myself not getting hurt than it is to prioritize you not getting hurt because I don't care. Like that's the thought process. Okay. The second thing is narcissists lack empathy. Now with that, I'm not going to dive into the weeds of exactly different pieces of that. Narcissists have empathy and narcissists don't have empathy, okay? I think there's more that have empathy than what people actually realize. But empathy also shows that there's something wrong with themselves when they have to actually admit that they're wrong. They don't do that, so it's easier just to not have empathy. It's easier to hold that back. I think a lot can engage, which is why they engage emotionally a lot of times and why they can manipulate really well, because there is a level of empathy, but they're unwilling to acknowledge your feelings. Okay, so with empathy, just understanding like the ability to be able to share feelings of another person, and the narcissist doesn't want to share feelings with you. Like they don't want to share, period, but they don't want to share feelings with you because they don't want to have to deal with the aftermath of dealing with those feelings and emotions. Okay, oftentimes they lack the ability, or they just aren't able to recognize or respond to the emotional partner's needs, like of what's actually going on. Like I refuse to recognize it. Oftentimes this will make it difficult to understand like how their behavior is actually affecting the partner because they're avoiding it. It's not just like, I can't figure this out, I can't understand it. There's a piece of that because they don't engage with the same level of emotion and empathy as you. But there's also the piece of like, I know like what's going on. I know how you're feeling. I know like what is actually happening on the other side. I just don't want to admit that I'm the one that caused it. I just don't want to admit that it was my fault. For those of you listening, like you should be able to understand that like this is actually worse, because then you're with someone that actually can see and understand that they're hurting you and they don't care. Like what it comes down to is like, I would rather focus on myself than I would on your pain. I'd rather tell me a lie about myself or a lie about you than I would about the truth about myself or what I've actually done. Oftentimes this is where you see like a narcissistic partner like diminishing your feelings, like your sadness, your anger, and getting really frustrated at you when you don't just get over it. Of like, you cried for 5 minutes, now you should be done. We should be past this. You should be moving on. Like, yes, I cheated on you for 5 years, but like you should be past this. Let's keep moving on. And you see this happen time and time and time again where you feel like you're crazy because the other person doesn't even validate you. Like he doesn't even let you express your feelings because he doesn't care and he doesn't want to hear it. All right, third thing is narcissists oftentimes enjoy like the power and the control they have over another person. Now, it's twofold. Like, there's this aspect of like a narcissist controlling power over you just for power's sake, like the dominance, the idea of us being superior. And then there's also the concept of the power and control because that protects them, because what they're focused on is the mask. Sometimes a narcissist is doing power and control. They're controlling you, not just because of the fact they want to control you, but they want to control your version of what you tell the people and your perception of the mask that they've created. So when they have this mask, remember, they're more infatuated with the mask than they are with themselves. And they have this mask. It's like, what do I have to do to make sure this mask doesn't get broken down, doesn't get destroyed? So I need to control you so you believe a false reality that I'm projecting. Like, that's the idea that a narcissist is normally trying to project onto you. But with this aspect of like enjoying the power and control that they have over you, they enjoy that power and control of a sense of like dominance, of like, I'm better, I'm superior. Like, you're supposed to serve me. That's the entitlement. This is grandiosity. They manipulate their partner's emotions to get what they want. Like, I want what I want when I want it, the entitlement, right? And they also feel like a sense of satisfaction in seeing the other person sometimes get hurt, sometimes get upset, but sometimes it's just more of the reaction. Like, whether it's hurt, upset, frustrated, sad, happy, glad, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's this aspect of like, I caused this in you. Like, that's like, I made this happen. And so sometimes you'll see like the narcissist will intentionally say like hurtful things. Like maybe you're getting ready and he's like purposely saying something about your outfit or how you look, or maybe you should go to the gym more, or your body or something like that. And it makes you feel small. Like that's on purpose. Like that's on purpose to be able to put you down so the narcissist can be number one. So the narcissist can be over you. Because that's the thought process, mentally and emotionally, of like, I need to be better than everybody else out there. Okay? All right, so maybe you're in the relationship and you're like, okay, but I get that, but what does it actually look like? What if I want to stay with a person? What if I want to stay with a narcissist? What's that actually look like? Well, you have to understand that if you decide to stay with a toxic person, with a narcissist, you need to first understand that your needs don't matter and you just have to serve them. Like, all their needs have to come first. Now, I'm not saying this is trying to be like sarcastic of like, this is what it is. I'm just trying to give you a reality. Like, if you want to be with a toxic person that is proven to be emotionally, mentally, and maybe even physically abusive, like, everything has to come first. But you have to understand it's not going to change anything, and it's not going to change anything long term. Like, if you give everything to a toxic person, if you get everything to a narcissist, doesn't mean that they're not going to leave you. Doesn't mean that they're not going to cheat. Doesn't mean that it's not going to still be the same hell that you've been in the entire time. You just might lengthen or shorten the timeline based on what you actually give them or how you actually respond. But it doesn't mean you're going to change them. Sometimes people think if they modify or change themselves, it's going to change the other person. And all you end up doing is just changing yourself a million times over, and the other person still doesn't care. You have to understand that. They're just using you at that point. But if you're trying to be in a relationship like that, a narcissist is only going to care about what you provide, how you make them look, how you make them feel, the money that you give, the sense of like how they look in society. As long as their own needs and desires are always met, then that's where they stay. But not always. Then they'll move on to the next person. They'll get tired of the chase. They'll get tired of where they are. So you have to understand, like, a narcissist is only looking at what they want. Okay? And oftentimes you'll see this in a manipulative aspect. So maybe you're at the place where, I don't think this marriage is going to work. I don't think this relationship is going anywhere. And you say, like, hey, we're going to call it quits. I'm done. I'm out. I can't handle this anymore. And all of a sudden the narcissist is like, okay, I think we should go to couples therapy. And you're like, I've been trying to get you to couples therapy for years. Well, at that point, the narcissist doesn't care about couples therapy. You have to understand, like, there's no drive to go to couples therapy. The only reason they're even bringing that up to go to couples therapy is to keep you in the relationship, to keep you trapped in that connection with them. And so oftentimes a narcissist will do this to keep you from leaving the relationship and to only participate in a way that makes them feel in control. And so when you start standing up for yourself and the therapist starts calling them out, that's where all hell breaks loose. That's where they walk out, everything like that. So don't go to a couples counseling. That was just a random freebie for you. Okay? If you're struggling with this, if you're in this place where you're like, wait a second, like, I still don't understand. I still don't know if they care. I want to invite you to go deeper, to take your knowledge to a whole nother level. Like, if you're with a narcissist right now, it's important for you to prioritize your own well-being and to seek support. Consider joining the Clarity Challenge at claritychallenge.net to start your healing journey with other survivors. Starts on the first of the month, but you need to sign up before, because once that first starts, it gets closed off. We bring everybody in so that you can actually continue to join and work with people on a daily basis. Where you're doing a daily assignment, they're doing a daily assignment on the same thing. You get to see and understand things that people are going through that are very similar to yours. You understand that you're not alone, that you're not hopeless, because you have people breaking free every single day. You learn how to transform your mindset and find the strength to let go of that toxic person that's in your life. So go to claritychallenge.net today to start that process moving forward.